Mothman of West Virginia. My name is Bill. Welcome to the Night Terrors Weekend Show. We're starting right now. Welcome to Eldergrown and T Plateau. If you value what I do on Night Terrors, one way to support the channel is through Patreon. Become a patron of the show by clicking on the Patreon link in the description below. Thank you for supporting the show. Elder says showtime. T Plateau says yay. Thank you, Elder, for the report. Excuse me. Here at wvpublic.org is a story by Eric Douglas entitled From Mothman to the Silver Bridge, 13 Months in the Life of a Local Journalist. Welcome, David Bryce Jr., who wants everyone to stay warm. Good advice, David. Thank you. The newspaper article here is Mysterious Creature, Balloon, or Crane. That looks like the whole story. Here's one of Mary Hyer's first stories on the Mason County Monster. Can we read that? Open image in new tab. Here we go. Point Pleasant. Rumors are flying through the Mason County faster than the thing. Thing is in quotation marks. Excuse me. Which has been spotted by several people in various locations. The thing is described as, you see, it wasn't named at this time. The name Mothman actually came from a journalist in Ohio, which borders the state. Green Dragon has arrived. Welcome, Green Dragon. And the Green Dragon has posted more videos. Drop a link to your channel there, buddy, so that everyone can see that link and copy it and go to that link. Welcome, One Sean Bond. The thing is described as being 6 feet tall. Let me just magnify this a bit. Soars with a pair of wings with a 10-foot span. Welcome, Andrew K. Welcome, Andrew. Has red eyes 6 inches apart and leaves a print like a hoof mark. 2 young married couples first spotted the thing Tuesday night in a 10,000-acre section east of Point Pleasant. The sector contains the McClintock Wildlife Sanctuary. Welcome, DT. And an abandoned government TNT plant. At least that's what they called it. Since that time, the flying creature has been seen in various parts of West Virginia. And it may have been a TNT. We'll find out. Evening. Thank you, T Plateau, for the jewels. Much appreciated, ma'am. Since that time, the flying creature has been seen in various parts of West Virginia and Ohio. Again, the bordering state, Ohio. Each description contains the phrase red eyes 6 inches apart. The thing has caught sudden interest in the remote TNT plant area, and nightly motorists plow bumper to bumper over the dusty dirt roads in hope of spotting the creature. Monday morning quarterbacks have taken 3 approaches to the sightings. They either laugh at the sighters, or give theories about the creature, or they contend they've seen it themselves. Why just contend? Maybe they did. The latest theory about the creature was advanced by Dr. Robert Smith, Associate Professor of Biology. at WVU, West Virginia University. Smith said the descriptions of the creature fit that of a huge sandhill crane. Smith said the crane stands 6 feet or better, has a huge wingspan, and has red forehead feathers. However, Ohio University zoology department officials gave a different view concerning the sandhill crane theory. Ohio officials said there's never been a known sighting of a sandhill crane in this part of the country. In his book, Sandhill Cranes, Lawrence Walkinshaw says the crane normally inhabits the plains of Canada and the flat country of upper Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the Dakotas. The birds migrate each year to the Gulf Coast, but they grate down the Mississippi Valley. Like some other birds, the crane migrates at night. The sandhill crane is gray-brown in color and has a red forehead. Members of the Proctorville Fairland High School Science Interest Club have another theory. Students of the Lawrence County School say the creature could be one of the 2 gas-filled balloons they released to study air currents. The 4-foot by 7-foot balloons were released about 30 miles west of Point Pleasant. Mason County Sheriff George Johnson said he's not discounting stories of the sightings, but believes the creature is nothing more than a shitepoke, a member of the heron family. Others contend the creature could be one of the wild geese which live on the ponds of the wildlife sanctuary. T. Plateau says, when in doubt, blame a weather balloon. Yes, the government loves to do that. The geese stand about 2.5 to 3 feet tall, much smaller than the reported sightings. One man said the description fit his mother-in-law exactly, especially the red eyes, 6 inches apart. Another Point Pleasant man said the creature is something from the moon, chased down to Earth by recent moon launching. This, of course, in the 60s. And actually before, I believe before, what's the date of it? You'd think they'd give a date here in the beginning. Oh, we never got to the beginning. Fall of 1966, so before the moon landing, or the supposed moon landing. Congratulations, green tea. The young couples who first saw the creature, Mr. and Mrs. Roger Scarberry and Mr. and Mrs. Steve Millett, disagreed with Dr. Smith's theory about the sandhill crane. These are eyewitnesses, 4 of them. After viewing a picture of the bird, I believe these were the ones by the TNT plant, evidently a popular lover's lane. And I congratulate these 2 married couples for visiting Lover's Lane. After viewing a picture of the bird, one of them commented, "My God, that's not the thing we saw. This thing could never chase us as it did." Mrs. Mallet said, "I just wish Dr. Smith could see the thing." The thing appeared, and again, this is before it was named, and it was named by a journalist from Ohio, maybe a couple of weeks later, maybe less, maybe a few days later. The thing appeared in a road near an abandoned power plant at the TNT facility. The 4 spotted the thing 5 different times as it chased them at speeds of 100 miles an hour toward Point Pleasant. Boy, they got some nice flat straight roads there in West Virginia, I guess. One thing for certain, ends the journalist from West Virginia. Lonely roads in the TNT area are not suited for late-night astronomy studies. Now, let me say that again. Lonely roads in the TNT area are now not suited for late-night astronomy studies. and the sweethearts of the area are up in arms. That's the end of that story from the contemporary with the first sightings. That by the journalist Mary Heyer. This is at wvpublic.org, by the way, this article, and written by Eric Douglas. And Mr. Douglas begins. Before its pop culture icon status, the people of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, including one local journalist, were fixated on an alleged flying monster. Was it a UFO? Was it a crane? The first time anyone saw the Mothman in West Virginia was the fall of 1966. It was described in a story from the Point Pleasant Register on November the 16th, which was a Wednesday. The headline, "Couples see man-sized bird, creature, something." The story continued with a quote from someone who allegedly saw the creature. Quote, "It was a bird or something. It definitely was not a flying saucer." End quote. 2 Point Pleasant couples said today they encountered a man-sized bird-like creature in the TNT area about midnight last night. Sheriff's deputies and city police went to the scene about 2 o'clock in the morning, but were unable to spot anything. But the 2 young men telling their story this morning were dead serious, asserting they hadn't been drinking. Steve Mallett of Jackson Avenue and Roger Scarberry of 30th Street described the thing as being about 6 or 7 feet tall, having a wingspan of 10 feet, with red eyes about 2 inches in diameter and 6 inches apart. Mallett said it was like a man with wings. It wasn't like anything you'd see on TV or in a monster movie. Enter Mary Heyer, the first to write about the Mothman. Mason County and Point Pleasant were growing, and one journalist, in particular, watched the area closely. Her name was Mary Heyer, and she wrote for the Athens Messenger. Oh, we have a hot link here. Welcome to Mr. Kilroy. Mr. Kilroy wants to provide mothballs for the Mothman. Kilroy was here. Athens Messenger, huh? What does that lead to? That's now after the picture or something. The Athens Messenger. Oh, it's just the Athens Messenger website, athensmessenger.com. So they now have an online presence. She was a reporter and a columnist, the paper's Point Pleasant office. Mary Heyer's column from the time of the initial Mason County monster sighting, where the waters mingle. Her column was where she talked about happenings in town, local gossip, community events. On November the 6th, 1966, 10 days earlier, she discussed weather predictions in the Old Farmer's Almanac for the coming year. But then came the sighting, November 16th. Heyer wrote 10 columns between then and the end of the year that mentioned the Mason County monster. It says here, long before it earned the nickname Mothman. I guess we'll find out how long before that was. Oh, yeah, here's the statue. Let's check out some pictures of it. Welcome to Aziers, 1975. Welcome to NS Girl Rules. Aziers from Newfoundland. Welcome, Aziers. Volume low, says NS Girl Rules. Is anyone else having problems with volume? I'm showing a full meter here. Is anyone else having volume problem? Let's see some Mothman statue. For that, we'll have to go here. I think it's here. Hope so. Yes. Thanks for the reports. Oh, gotcha, man. Why don't you slip in those titles so I can copy them down now, buddy? Slip those titles into chat for me. Thank you. Mothman statue. Looks almost like a colorized one. That's nice and bright. Yeah, look at how blue the sky is. Good resolution. Beautiful. Thank you, G-Man. Got it. Put that here. And overwrite. And let's see if it did. Not really familiar with that function. Yes, it did. It's called Hammer Time. By the way, we're talking about Gotcha Man's movies coming up this coming Wednesday, 9 p.m. on Twitch. And it's Hammer Time. Curse of the Mummy's Tomb from 64. Wow, classic era. Nice. And The Brides of Dracula from 1960, which is the year I was born. Excellent. Hammer Film Studios out of the UK. Thank you, Gotcha Man. And by the way, when you go to Twitch and you want to find him, just search on his regular handle, Gotcha Man. Just like it's spelled here. Just like it's spelled in chat. Let's reduce this. Or X out, rather. Yeah, we're good. All right, let's take a look at this one. Open image in new tab. Oh, look at that. Yeah, that's those colors are really bumped up a little bit, but that's it isn't. I don't think it's gold in color. I think it's silver in color. It's stainless steel, supposedly. I don't believe it's anodized. So there might be some manipulation here in the color. Oh, we have something special too. I mean, everything's special, of course, but check this out. Yeah, where is it? Where is it? It's Athens Messenger today. Road America. It's called the Moth Cam, and it's a cam in Point Pleasant. Let's play it now. Oh, you can see it's snowing, which shows a live view of the Mothman statue. Here you can see its true color, stainless steel. Yeah. Occasionally a car will come down here, not too often. Not too much traffic in Point Pleasant. Even in the daytime. I mean, look, you have, here's a two-way road. Only this side of the road has tracks on it. Here, it's hard to tell, but it looks like there's no tracks on this side of the road. So you have traffic going this way, but not the other way. Yeah, not too much, small town, I guess. Small town there. That's the live statue. Can we reduce this? No, we got to pop this up, I think. Yeah. See. Oh, there's one from the rear. Naked butt? I'll pass. I could see naked butt. No, we're not doing that one. Gotcha Man says they should motorize it. What is that? Oh, it's what is that? Oh, there's the butt. I didn't want to show that. Why do people want to see the butt of Mothman? Here's an angle. Let's take the angle shot. It's excellent resolution. Wow. Yeah, that's a good shot. Take a look at this one. We'll get back to business. Thank you, Green Tea. Good moderator there. Thank you, Green Tea. Let's open image. Oh, yeah. Hair on the chest, of course. Bird hair. Oh, check out the torn wings. I like that. You know, the guy who did this statue, a local artisan, they commissioned to do this statue, originally didn't want to do it, but he did an excellent job. Love those talons. Nice. And Mr. Douglas continues. Gotchaman says he's got Sean Connery chest hair. Welcome to Mr. Ghost with the Most, who just dropped something. Elder says Mothman should be a Marvel villain. Her first headline story ran with the title, Winged Red-Eyed Thing Chases Point Couples Across Countryside. Her story began with a question. What stands 6 feet tall, has wings, 2 big red eyes 6 inches apart, and glides along an auto at 100 miles an hour? Along suggests that it paced the car at 100 miles an hour as they were trying to get away. Isn't that interesting? Don't know. Well, neither do 4 Point Pleasant residents who were chased by a weird man-like thing on Tuesday night. The story ended with a quote from one of the 4 original people to see the creature. Believe me, if you ever saw it, you'd be a believer. A little ironically, the story wrapped around a shorter piece on the page, announcing the Leonid meteor shower, which was set to peak that night. For one of the most spectacular shows in more than a century, quote unquote. Pyre's next Mothman headline was the very next day. Monster returns to Mason. She wrote 6 or maybe 7 more people became believers in the Mason County monster Wednesday night. What is it they saw? They don't know. But they've managed to convince a raft of people they saw something. This being, here it says, the caption reading, Jack Park of Point Pleasant painted a likeness of the monster based on published descriptions. And there you have the 3 toes on the foot, on the feet, the 3 talons on each foot. Looks like a cartoon. But it's like, oh, it's a cutout. This gentleman, it's a fairly large cutout, maybe, I'm estimating, maybe 3 feet tall, something like that. 2 feet, 3 feet tall, 2 to 3 feet tall. Elder agrees, says it looks like a Looney Tune. Good artist, right? Yeah, he created this picture, then he cut it out and stood it up in the grass. It looks like that may be the support right there for it. This straight uniform rod, which is thicker than any of the other grass in the picture. I may, rather, maybe I should say any of the other brush in the picture. But that's what's keeping it propped up, I believe, right there. And the caption reads, Fantasy or fact, residents of Mason County who have been chasing a strange man-like flying thing, whether it be a monster or a behemoth, now have something tangible to look at. Jack Park Point Pleasant has painted a large, fierce bird based on descriptions of the thing which have been spotted several times in northern West Virginia since November the 17th. Deputy Sheriff Millard Halstead photographed the artist's conception in the TNT area, that meaning the area of the TNT plant, where the 2 married couples saw the creature, and it paced their car at 100 miles an hour. As we can see, not too much police presence. We still have that picture there? And no, that's the other tab is what it is. Not too much police presence. So there's the live moth cam. Ooh, we have some kind of hey, the guy's just stopped in the middle of a street, a divided 2-lane street, evidently to pick someone up. Just puts on his 4-ways, walks over to get the person. This is a live cam of the Mothman statue in Point Pleasant. Not too much traffic in this little town. Good thing they have the Mothman. This from the Athens Messenger, December the 2nd, 1966. Green Tea says, love small town America. You and me both, sister. A few days later, on November the 20th, Higher, the journalist took a slightly more skeptical tone with her writing. The headline read, "Is the mysterious creature a balloon or a crane?" Or, in headline speak, "Is mysterious creature balloon or crane? The thing has caused a sudden interest in the remote TNT plant area," which was a local lover's lane, and nightly motorists plow bumper to bumper over the dusty, dirty roads in hopes of spotting the creature. Only 5 days later, there was another sighting. This time it was in daylight. The Mason monster made its daylight debut Friday morning, adding Tom Urey, age 25 of Clarksburg, to its list of endorsees, writes the reporter. Urey sighted the creature at 7:15 a.m. Friday while driving toward Clarksburg on Route 62. When he reached the vicinity of the Homer Smith farm, 8 miles north of Point Pleasant, and of course, as we saw from the amount of traffic, everyone knows where the Homer Smith farm is, he saw the creature rise up just like a helicopter from a nearby field, straight up into the air. In her next column on November the 26th, Mary Higher reflected on the effect of the monster Mary Higher reflected the effect the monster sighting was having on the town. Since the strange creature was sighted in the area this week, she wrote, it has brought more excitement than anything I have witnessed since I started working for the Messenger 25 years ago. I always said nothing could compare with a flood back in the days when the town would be covered just about every year. But this has created more turmoil and fear for many. I don't care where you go. You can hear it being asked. Wonder what the latest is on that thing that's been hovering over the area. There were several more stories in December and in early January '67, but things changed some on January 22nd when the UFO reports started coming in. And this a quote from the reporter, or the newspaper story, rather. The latest was by Tad Jones of Dunbar, who said he came upon the unidentified flying object on Interstate 64. Its description is like many that have been reported in many areas of the United States and around the world. Higher mentions John Keel, the author and paranormal investigator that had recently been to Point Pleasant looking into the sightings. There's an interesting article in True Magazine. He says that each new sighting only adds to the mystery, one that the government has assigned scientists at the University of Colorado to solve. Any immediate solution seems improbable. The origins and motivations of these creatures, if they are real, can only be speculated. But millions of people throughout the world are now convinced that something is going on, and there is somebody out there. More and more, respected scientists are beginning to take the matter seriously as they delve into the question of life on other worlds. Heyer and Keel would end up working together over the next few years. The newspaper reporter and the book writer. On April the 2nd, in her column Where the Waters Mingle, Heyer discussed continued sightings of both the monster and UFOs. She noted other communities are having watch parties, looking for them. And here's the quote. Friday, John Keel of New York, a well-known ufologist, lecturer and writer, and I appeared on the Jackie Ober... It's got to have 4 syllables for the last name, right? John Keel and I appeared on the Jackie Oberlinger Show on WCHS TV in Charleston and discussed recent sightings of UFOs in West Virginia. There were a few additional stories in the Athens Messenger and a few more sightings claiming the monster and a UFO appeared to make a rendezvous in midair. But things then seemed to die down. Heyer's columns returned to normal. She looked at historical occurrences and social activities in town. Her September 10th column would turn out to be fateful. And here is the related tragedy, the collapse of the Silver Bridge. It spanned the Ohio River, I assume between Ohio and West Virginia. We'll find out shortly. This from Mary Heyer, 39 years ago, when the Silver Bridge was dedicated on August the 2nd, 1928. It was a gala affair. According to a story in the State Gazette, published at that time in Point Pleasant. Perhaps it was not anticipated that in 40 years it would hardly be sufficient to take care of the traffic on the heavily traveled U.S. Route 35 and the traffic between Ohio and West Virginia towns. Today, the State Road Commission is tearing apart the right side of the approach to the bridge on the West Virginia side to widen it. Caption here reading the Silver Bridge just after its collapse as rescue and recovery crews get to work. Just 3 months later, on December 18th, she was writing about the Silver Bridge again. But there was no discussion of celebration. 3 days earlier, on December the 15th at 5 p.m., people coming home from work. When rush hour was the same hour for everybody. The bridge collapsed into the Ohio River. The death toll was 46. Again to Mary Heyer. I could easily change the name of my column to Where the Bodies Mingle, since the worst disaster ever to hit Point Pleasant struck with a flash on Friday when the Silver Bridge collapsed, sending dozens of people to a watery grave. I am sure we could never pick a time for tragedy, but I heard it over and over that it's so much worse at Christmas time. In a column dated December the 19th, Heyer wrote, that's 4 days later. 4 days later. No, the next day. So this is our very next column. I personally interviewed some of those who were rescued from the waters of the Silver Bridge tragedy, which happened here on Friday night. And while their physical wounds will be healed, mentally they will relive this tragedy the rest of their lives. In Heyer's Christmas Eve column, she writes, Friday, people began to relax after working endless hours since the tragedy. Many said they could still not conceive of the fact that the once heavily traveled bridge on 6th Street is no longer there. The day of its collapse will always be remembered as Black Friday. On the second anniversary of the bridge's collapse, Heyer wrote a remembrance. The headline was, "Reporter Regrets Her Biggest Story." And here's a part of that article. Every reporter, after years in the news writing business, has a few stories that stand out in memory, making deeper impressions than the hundreds of run-of-the-mill articles you write. There may be murders, fires, campaigns for worthy causes. I have some of those myself, but the one that burned deepest into my memory, leaving an indelible mark, was the one I wish I never had to report, and that is the Silver Bridge disaster. On December the 16th, 2 years and a day after the collapse, Heyer's column, with a slightly changed name to Where Waters Mingle, discussed the recent dedication of the new Memorial Bridge as a replacement to Silver Bridge. The event was attended by the governors of Ohio and West Virginia, along with state and federal officials, who executed another person today, by the way. She wrote of a hearing of a little boy talking about the event afterward. She reported the boy said, "I'm not going to tell the teacher I was sick today because I missed school. I'm going to tell the truth. I attended this dedication because I thought it was important. I see a lot of dignitaries and people and the new bridge, and I think it was educational, and I learned a lot. This new bridge's progress, we had to have it. We just had to." And she wrapped it up with a personal reminiscence. "As I sit here in my office tonight and look across 6th Street, there is hardly a person working on the street, and very few cars passing by. And my memories go back to 2 years ago, a few hours after the bridge collapsed. What a difference tonight than that night. What a difference tonight than that night. How about what a difference between tonight and that night? I have all the compassion for those who lost their loved ones that fatal night. I shall never forget. I'm happy we have a new bridge across the Ohio," meaning the Ohio River. Wow, chat is unusually quiet today. Welcome, Pedro Rojas Cervantes. I take that back. Welcome, Pedro. Elder says if Mothman comes here, he's going to freeze his shiny butt off. A reference to the naked butt of the Mothman statue, which, yes, I want to see again live. And there it is. And it's snowing in Point Pleasant. Can that picture be increased or not really? No, not really. I'd like to blow it up, but evidently you can't do that. You can't get there from here. Welcome, Ryu 1972. Now chat's hopping. Here's the historical marker, which is on the West Virginia side of the bridge and the river. Silver Bridge collapse, constructed in 1928, connecting Point Pleasant and Cayuga, Ohio. Name credited to aluminum-colored paint that was used for the bridge. First I-bar suspension bridge of its type in the United States. Rush hour collapse, 15th of December, 1967, resulting in 31 vehicles falling into the river, killing 46 and injuring 9. I've also heard 47. Failed I-bar joint and weld identified as cause. So the I-bar, joint, and weld. So the joint and the weld together, I guess. I-bar, joint, and weld. Resulted in congressional passage of National Bridge Inspection Standards in 1968. If only Congress would do something today. A few weeks later, and to the start of 1970, there was a small blurb in the paper noting that she was admitted to Holzer Medical Center in Gallipolis, Ohio, with difficulty breathing and a slight case of pneumonia. 4 weeks after that, Mary Hyre expired. Her obituary was published on February 16, 1970. It noted her column was widely read, and there was no story she wrote more about than the Silver Bridge. The masthead editorial in the paper began simply, "Mary Hyre is gone." 5 years later, in March of 1975, welcome Shane Riley. John Keel published his book, The Mothman Prophecies, which of course was made into a movie with Richard Gere. Just saw An Officer and a Gentleman last night. Good flick, good flick. You know, they thought the ending of that was going to be silly. I mean, Gere. Gere thought the ending of that movie was going to be silly, and the director said to him, "Well, let's just shoot it." Of course, it's a classic ending. The Mothman Prophecies about the Mason County Monster. That's where he made the connection between the Silver Bridge collapse and the appearance of the Mothman as a warning. He dedicated the book to Mary Hyre. Caption reading here. This looks like it's the Mothman Museum, and the caption confirms it. John Keel's book was adapted into a feature film starring Richard Gere in 2002. Pictured is a framed, signed script from the film inside the Mothman Museum in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Now, it didn't include the Mothman Museum in this. It's pretty mundane. But let's take a look at this picture from the museum. Oh, nice resolution. That looks like a news story. But somehow she got inside the house and Mothman went after her. Her nephew Ricky slammed the glass door shut and pushed a table against it, while the creature battered against the door. Then he grabbed... Wow. But I saw no red eyes. But he got into the house. That's really crazy, man. And there's the script. Can't really tell. Oh, there's I forget Deborah's last name. Oh, that's the other movie. I'm not good enough to identify Richard Gere's signature. But maybe the internet is. Let's find out. And is that here? Is that over here? Yeah, let's look for it. Will this work? Test. Test. Richard Gere's signature. Okay. Pretty obvious. Got the big top loop on the R. And a wavy line on the end there. Long line on the end. Oh yeah, let's check it out. Right there? No, there's no long line. But that's the R. Yeah, but that's it right there. There's a G, as a matter of fact. Yeah. Signed by Richard Gere as well. I don't think it's good resolution enough to read the front of that. Let's find out. Did I welcome one Sean Bond yet? If I did not, welcome one Sean Bond. Yeah, it's very difficult to read. Deborah Messing, maybe? Interesting. Whoa! What did I do? Let's just, didn't realize I did that. Why did I do that? Okay. And that's the end of that story. All right, where are we? Oh, it's movie promo time. Gotcha Man's coming up with a double feature this Wednesday at 9 p.m. on Twitch. This coming Wednesday. It's Hammer time. Hammer Film Studios, that is. Let's take a look at the details. Yeah, that works good. Let's increase the font for you people. Well, we got to reduce this a little bit. Let's try that. We got to make it look good. And that's going to be, I love Georgia font. Go. And 36, please. There it is. It's Hammer Time this coming Wednesday, only on Twitch. 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And when you go to Twitch, that's the channel name you search on. And that's how it's spelled. Same as his handle here in chat. The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, 1964. And The Brides of Dracula from 1960. Now, these movies are exactly the movies I used to watch when I was a kid, and why I'm here today talking to you about the Mothman. And I will be there as I am always there because it is a rockin' time. But join us for Hammer Time this coming Wednesday, hosted by Gotcha Man. End of that article. Let's see what other interesting stuff. Let's look at that Mothman cam again. Still no traffic. Oh, we have one car went on this other side of the street, though. Check it out. See the one track right about here when the red line disappears? Plenty of traffic this way. Not so much this other way. Shane Riley is deathly frightened of moths. Don't move to West Virginia. We have convincing stories here. Myth or reality? Ooh, let's look at the top 10 explanations for Mothman. Probably get rid of some of this stuff, right? We can get rid of that. That can go. Yeah, we read that. And this was what? Something that was not that. Continue reading what? What's going on? Athens Messenger. Oh, we went to see the Athens Messenger. That's right. So we'll get rid of that. Let's check out the article about the statue first. There it is. Live. At roadsideamerica.com. In a field review by the team entitled Mothman Statue. They put a mask. They put a mask from the Koof on the Mothman statue. Let's increase that. One, two. And the team begins. In America's pantheon of monsters, Mothman is among the most celebrated and terrifying, half human, half insect. He roamed over the skies of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, swooping down to frighten dogs and people, leaving only a trail of screaming newspaper headlines. When his attacks stopped in the late 1960s, Mothman simply vanished. Of course, that isn't true. There have been sightings all throughout the decades since the 60s, but this is one of the few cryptids that has a known starting date. The citizens of Point Pleasant hoped that he would never return. Most of the world forgot about the Mothman, except for John Keel, whose 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, was itself nearly forgotten, until it was reworked as a 2002 Hollywood film starring Richard Gere. Until that movie came out, I just never thought much more of Mothman, said Charles Humphreys, a Point Pleasant native, who had hunted the creature in the 60s. Don't I have a hunting story here somewhere? Yeah, I have a hunting story too. I don't care about Charles. Oh, here's the story about the sculptor. Charles knew a guy who could build a monster. Bob Roach, a retired welder, who made art out of stainless steel. I drove to his house out in the woods, said Charles. And I said, Bob, you make that Mothman and you'll be known around the world. Bob dismissed the idea, saying he wasn't interested. Of course, it's not anodized gold, it is silver. I think that's artificially done somehow, photoshopped. Saying he wasn't interested. But Charles said, I knew he had an ego. And the next morning he called up and asked, what does that Mothman look like? Charles' answer was to take Bob around Point Pleasant, interviewing people who had seen the Mothman. Then Bob went to work. According to Charles, Bob built the entire statue in his garage, and it took him about a year. The completed sculpture is undoubtedly monstrous. Mothman looks like he could tear someone in two, with upper and lower fangs, hairy chest and six-pack abs, clawed hands and feet, and ghastly wings that rise 13 feet high. The creature has a braided mullet haircut and no visible reproductive organs. Mothman's red eyes, the size of footballs, which Charles described as beautiful, are mirrored inside so that they glow at night in reflected light, or in daylight with a camera flash, writes the author, the team. Despite the biologically improbable appearance of the statue, Charles says it's an honest depiction of the Mothman, taken directly from the memories of local eyewitnesses, not a fantasy concocted by Bob Roach. The people who saw it said that that's what they saw, or close to it, said Charles. Many of the residents of Point Pleasant were leery about the return of Mothman, especially since Charles had insisted that the statue be erected in the heart of downtown. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the heart of downtown, bustling with traffic. You can see the snow, and there's the statue. Only a small group of onlookers witnessed Bob and Charles unveil it on September 13th, 2003. John Keel was a guest of honor. Charles was delighted. Bob kept his own opinions to himself, even after a plaque identifying him as the sculptor was attached to the Mothman's pedestal. Oh, yeah, here's the installation. Yeah, there's no plaque there yet. Cool. Can we see any details of the installation by looking at this picture? They're adjusting. I guess they're putting it on top of the pedestal, maybe? Could that be? No, they're adjusting the base position of the sculpture. All a single sculpture. It has to all be a single sculpture, right? Yeah. That is attached to the pedestal. So after the unveiling, there's the black curtain that covered it prior to the unveiling. And after the unveiling, they're moving it? Wait a minute. Don't you unveil it after it's moved? Whatever. They're definitely moving it. I think they're just rotating it and using the arms as leverage points. Oh. To the surprise of just about everyone in town, Mothman, the statue, proved to be popular. Charles said it would. People started traveling to Point Pleasant to see the statue. So many that a Mothman museum opened up across the street in 2006, which is still open, by the way, and he shot of it in the live cam. I don't know, maybe this lit window? I wish I could magnify that. That's a building for sale, which has been sold recently, apparently. Now, you think it would say museum. It must be on the same side of the street as the cam. They say where the cam is. They do not. The world's only Mothman museum. Yeah, this is a cam from the museum, evidently. This is at mothmanmuseum.com. They maintain the moth cam. Gotcha Man informs us that the lit window is a baby toy store. A baby toy store. A baby toy store. And at the far right is a cafe. Far right, I guess that means here. Thank you, G-Man. The sculpture also became the focal point of Point Pleasant's annual Mothman Festival, now visited by upwards of 15,000 people every September. Charles said, "I've never seen anything like that Mothman to draw people. I don't care how cold it is. There's people here every day visiting the statue. They come from all over just to get their picture with him." I think that's the end of the article. Not quite. Mothman became such an icon that in 2020, it was the subject of an online petition calling for the replacement of America's many Confederate monuments with statues of celebrated American figures, primarily Mothman. The Mothman statue was cited as a prime representation of what is really important in American culture and history. The petition was signed by thousands of people. America, or at least a certain segment of it, clearly yearns for another Mothman. But there was one and only one Mothman statue. And Bob Roach is no longer available to make more. Fortunately, he built his stainless steel Mothman to last. Charles said, "It's as strong as an ox and looks like it was put up yesterday." I didn't lie to Bob. He'll be known around the world forever. And if you remember, up here it says that Charles is someone who hunted the Mothman. Charles, the man who commissioned, I guess, or facilitated the commissioning of the statue, was one of those who hunted the Mothman in the 60s. Actually hunted it. And I have a story here about Mothman hunting. Here we go. Green Tea would travel a few miles out of her way to see the Mothman. Hunting the Mothman, West Virginia's red-eyed terror. Here at OutdoorHub.com is an article written by Keith Lusher. Now, why does this look like it goes to the very edge of the page? Because the person who created this page did it by hand and doesn't know HTML very well. That is right to the border. Will reducing it help? Yes, reducing it helps. I take that back. No HTML problem here. Gotcha Man says, take me home, cryptid haunted roads. West Virginia, mountain mothman, take me home. Thank you, Elder. And the author begins, I've always found the Mothman to be one of the most interesting cryptids. Because unlike other legends that go back centuries, this one has a specific start date and a specific location where it started. The whole thing began on November 15th, 1966, in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, when two young couples reported seeing a large gray flying creature with 10-foot wings and glowing red eyes, 6 inches apart, near an old World War II munitions plant, which they called colloquially the TNT plant. The creature followed their car at speeds of up to 100 miles an hour. I would never drive my car 100. I just don't do this at home. Don't drive 100 at home. With eyes that lit up like bicycle reflectors in their headlights. The local paper ran the story the next day. And that's when everything started. The Mothman is described as a humanoid creature, standing between 6 and 7 feet tall, with massive wings spanning 10 feet. Unlike other winged cryptids, witnesses consistently describe it as more human-like than animal-like. It has gray or black skin. I've also heard brown skin, one of the early reports. Muscular legs, and those famous glowing red eyes that seem to be its most recognizable feature. What makes the Mothman especially unsettling is how it behaves around people. What is that? Oh, this is the abandoned TNT area. And it says here, oh yeah, that's like a bunker. Wow, interesting. I guess for storage underground. The caption reads, the TNT area provided the perfect habitat for the Mothman. Thick woods, concrete bunkers, and isolation from main roads, where something could hide undetected. The creature appears to be incredibly fast, both on the ground and in the air. Witnesses reported it keeping up with cars traveling at highway speeds without even flapping its wings. Some described it as gliding effortlessly through the air, while others said it seemed to just appear and disappear without warning. Let's take a look at some recent photographic evidence, shall we? Where is that going to be? Man photographs creature that resembles legendary Mothman of Point Pleasant is the name of the article by Colin Pearson at WCHSTV.com. And Mr. Pearson begins. Oh, look, there it is. Caption, a man driving along State Route 2 in Point Pleasant said he snapped these pictures of a creature jumping from tree to tree. Many locals in Point Pleasant believe it resembles the legendary Mothman, a red-eyed creature many believes is a bad omen. Yes, if I didn't mention it before, he is supposed to have appeared, and I'm surprised the author missed this, in the first selection we read. The Mothman is supposed to have appeared right before the collapse of Silver Bridge at Point Pleasant. So he's sometimes considered a harbinger of doom, one might say. And the article begins, hunters in Mason County may need to be on the lookout for something other than deer when they hit the woods this week. By the way, you're not being cheated. This is not video. This is just one of the pictures. Oh, it's 1 second long. It's a 1 second video of a still picture. They show, I think he took several of them, and they have 3 of them here, I believe. We'll be looking at all of them. The Point Pleasant Mothman is a local legend that over the years has gained worldwide fame. There hadn't been any recent sightings of the red-eyed creature recently, but that changed Sunday evening. What's the date of this article? This article being 2016. So yes, the sightings continue. Just because you write it doesn't mean it's true. In other words, that person who said that the last time it was sighted was in the 60s. That's not true. Welcome to it looks like Angel Luis Espada from Brooklyn, New York City. Respect. Welcome, Angel. Hunters in Mason County may need to be on the lookout for something other than deer when they hit the woods this week. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, sir. German I speak. Other languages, no. There hadn't been any recent sightings of the red-eyed creature recently, but that changed Sunday evening when a man says he was driving along State Route 2 saw something jump from tree to tree. He pulled off the road and snapped some pictures. The man declined an on-camera interview, but was adamant the pictures had not been doctored. And they don't look doctored either. We'll take a close look. He said he recently moved to Point Pleasant for work and didn't even know about the legend. In the pictures, the creature appears to have wings with pointed tips and long legs, bent at an awkward angle. Point Pleasant locals, such as Carolyn Harris, believe the pictures could be real. That's not playing audio, is it, people? I don't see any audio. Okay, we're cool. Can I get rid of that? Yeah. Because there have been so many other sightings over the years. Harris said, I definitely know the Mothman is real. The Mothman was reportedly sighted in Point Pleasant by witnesses from November the 15th to December the 15th, 1966. Author John Keel popularized local folklore about the creature with his 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies. Harris has owned the Mothman Diner in Point Pleasant for 48 years. She also helped start the Mothman Festival. Smart businesswoman. Harris said there had been too many sightings of the Mothman for her not to believe. Harris said first responders in the sheriff's department that I talked to definitely made a believer out of me. Some believe the Mothman is a bad omen, only appearing when catastrophe is about to strike. There have been many claims that the winged, red-eyed creature was seen right before the collapse of the Point Pleasant Silver Bridge in 1967. Welcome to Big Test, my friend. Good to see you, sir. Harris has met many Mothman believers over the years who visits her diner. On Monday, Karen and Ralph Smith were patrons there. The couple was traveling from Florida to Pennsylvania, but decided to stop off in Point Pleasant to visit the Mothman Museum. Karen Smith said she hopes she can add herself into the believer category. Smith said, "You have eyewitnesses. It has potential to be real, and I want to believe." The Smiths said the Mothman pictures look real to them. They look real to me, too. We'll take a close look in a second. Welcome, Verpine. And we got, what is this? Smart detection of what? Viewers. Oh, yeah, let's get rid of that guy. How do I do that? Oh, gone already. Thank you, moderators. I'm guessing Elder. Just a guess, though. Good job. Wamsley said, with modern technology, it's almost impossible to know for sure if the pictures are real. What? With modern technology, it's almost impossible to know if the pictures are real. That should be the opposite. With modern technology, it's almost impossible not to know if the pictures are real. The benefits... And it says here, even if the picture is not real, the benefits the legend of the Mothman brings to Point Pleasant are very real. Angel says the town has a Mothman statue. That is true, and here's a live picture of it. This is the middle of Point Pleasant. I mean, I know it's 11 minutes past the hour at night. You can see that, but this is in the middle of Point Pleasant, this statue. There's their cute little park in the middle of Point Pleasant, and there's no traffic. In fact, look at all the traffic that was on this side of the road, and here, only one track. On the near side, this is a split road. Okay, we want to go here. Harris said, it's a good thing. It brings lots of people to the area. He's here to stay. Oh, and that's it for that article. Okay, and where were we before we delved into two other things? I think this one. Yeah. Top 10 explanations for the Mothman. Let's do that. Then what do we have? Oh, no, we're going to look at those pictures, right? Take a close-up look here. Okay, now, this is the biggest we're going to get on this one. Well, the others are here, right? I saw 3 pictures. Why am I not seeing them now? Let's mute this and play it. Only 1 second long. Does it play more than one? Play. No, it's just a still picture. 1 second long. So what? Mothman. What's the guy's name? Mothman. It says he and he. Give the guy's name. That was in the story. There's the hunter right there. Hunting the Mothman. We'll check up on that. But this is the very end because it's a movie. How to hunt the Mothman. We'll check for more pictures in a second. Welcome to Exile, the Knights of Malta now. Good to see you, Exile. Exile says, if Mothman turns out to be Order of Malta, he's going to have a hard time flying from the Coconut Crab Island. Good point, Exile. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, here you got the blur here. You have blur here. That's identical in blur, if you ask me. It was leaping from tree to tree when this guy took the picture in 2016 in Point Pleasant. Let's see if we can find the other pictures that he snapped. What is his name? A man, it says here. They changed Sunday when a man, the man, declined an interview. In the pictures, they don't give the man's name. They never give the man's name. Huh. Well, let's, they give a date of the sighting. I don't even have an exact date of the sighting either. Isn't that weird? Exile says if you can fly at highway speeds like the Mothman, that's the incentive to hop from tree to tree. Big Test says many saw a big bird-like thing taking off from the trees. Some said it had a human body. Thank you, Big Test. A man driving along that he saw. Never give the name of the man. Maybe we could do a backwards photo search or something. Let's just say Mothman here. Whoops, at the search part. Where's the search part? Oh, it's the other thing. This should... We're going here next. Let's just reduce this for a second. Okay, go to Mothman. Because that first one to me... Photo. Mothman photos. Okay, here's the 3 pictures. Oh, it was at Snopes I saw it. Okay. Fairly good resolution. There we go. And again, the amount of blurring is the same in each picture. I think this is real. And look at the head. I mean, that looks like a human head. The Mothman returns. And this, the person who photographed this, supposedly had just moved to the area and didn't even know about the legend. Other says those are mighty creepy photos. Exile says, Mothman is in big trouble, mister. You're supposed to have red lights behind you, not in front. Big Test says, all cryptids love having their picture taken from potato cameras. Okay, where were we? I think we can reduce... No, we gotta actually expand that other one. There we go. Top 10 explanations for the Mothman. In 1966, Point Pleasant, West Virginia, one amorous young couple encountered something they'll never forget. Thought it was 2 amorous couples. Something that was literally burned into their retinas. What they saw was a terrifying man-bird hybrid with glowing red eyes. From there, subsequent reports and all sorts of wild speculation ensued. And with that, a need to explain it all, here are 10 common explanations for this otherworldly entity, simply dubbed the Mothman. This, of course, at listverse.com and written by Ryan Thomas. Verpine says, if it ain't fuzzy, it ain't a cryptid. Number 10, barn owl. One explanation, according to what Agent Mulder might call a non-believer, is that the Mothman is nothing that can't be found in the natural world, in particular, a barn owl. That does not look like the pictures we just saw. And I believe that's the Mothman as well. The guy in 2016, was it? Those snaps we were just looking at. Oh, there's the X. Get rid of that thing. This particular owl does, after all, fit all the Mothman criteria, instead of being 6 to 7 feet tall. Their wingspan, when fully extended, makes the bird seem larger than it actually is. Their eyes reflect a distinctly eerie red when flashlights or headlights glow upon them. And they emit a kind of screeching sound for which the Mothman is also known. I haven't heard that yet. Eldergrown wants to know, is it barn owl or barred owl? I will ask AI, Elder. Thank you. Let's find out from AI. Is it here? Yeah. Pasting in Elder's question verbatim. Barn owl is a real bird species. Barred owl is not a distinct bird species. It's just an informal nickname people sometimes use for another owl. The barred, B-A-R-R-E-D, the barred owl. But there's no official species called barred owl, spelled B-A-R-D. So it's a barn owl with an N. Verpine says barn owls always chase cars going 60 miles an hour. 100, my friend. It was reported in the paper. One of the first things reported was that they were going as high as 100 miles an hour to get away from this thing, and that it was alongside the car. They're like looking sideways at it. Scary. Okay, let's go back. Alien. That's an obvious one. Thunderbird. The Native Americans from the area surrounding Point Pleasant. Aren't you supposed to say First Peoples these days? Had stories of giant, terrible birds called thunderbirds that could easily swoop down and carry away a man. In their depictions and representative artifacts, the images resembled the Mothman, and thus they were lumped into the mix as some kind of continuing story, which opens itself up to claims that sightings of the Mothman may go as far back as the early 1600s. That is just insane. Where is that from? Is there anything that explains that picture? Let's open the image in a new tab. Good point, Elder. Thunderbirds. I'm going to write that down. We should do that for a show. Thunderbirds. It is. Thank you, Elder. Open image, new tab. That be here. Let's save that to the show folder. Save image as. We'll put it in the main folder. There we go. Save. And let's do a reverse search on the image. At where? Google or Yandex, somewhere like there. Do we have a Yandex or a Google here for that search? Yeah, there's a reverse search at Google. Yeah, there's also one at Yandex though. The annex is a Russian site. Paste image link. Drag an image upload file. That's last week. Let's go to this week. There it is. Juggernaut of the skies. Argentavis. Argentavis, the biggest bird that ever existed. Argentavis was a giant bird that went extinct millions of years ago. The largest flying bird ever to exist. Biggest bird in the world. Argentavis magnificens. Prehistoric bird discovery. Why does that picture look better than all the other pictures? Let me open that picture. Looks like good resolution. Argentavis magnificens. A reproduction from found skeletal remains, I imagine. Thank you, Elder, for the link. Thunderbird cryptid, bird with a 70-foot wingspan. Thunderbirds, as described in George Eberhardt's Mysterious Creatures, are massive and intimidating birds with a wingspan that can reach up to 70 feet. Described as resembling vultures or condors, which don't even look like each other. Thunderbirds have dark feathers, a light head, and occasionally a white feather color around their necks. In addition to their mysterious movements to the sky, these birds have been known to abduct small animals such as calves, dogs, and in rare cases, children. In contrast, the largest bird in North America, the California condor, has a wingspan of only 10 feet, while the wandering albatross, the largest bird in the world, has a wingspan of 12 feet. We need to look to the past to find a larger bird. Lost my pen. It's not good. Have another pen. You can always just pick up another pen. Got it. Well, maybe I'll get the other one. Oh yeah, I got my pen. Albatross, says Eldergrown. Albatross. Welcome, Eddie Haskell. Long time no see. Eddie loves the show. Thank you, Eddie. We need to look to the past to find a larger bird, as some terraforms, or teratorns, I guess that's a scientific name, teratorns from prehistoric times had wingspans of 20 feet. Thunderbirds are even larger than some planes. The Thunderbird cryptid is a phenomenon that spans across the continent, originating from the myths and beliefs of multiple tribes, depicting its image on rocks and on totem poles. In the legends of various tribes such as the Comanche, the Chippewa, the Mandan, the Thunderbird was believed to be the cause of storms, with its eyes emitting lightning and its wings producing thunder. Makes sense. Despite being considered a benevolent creature towards humans, it did engage in intense battles with formidable opponents, like giant snakes and killer whales. And I totally lost where we are. At the reading, which I believe is somewhere near here. And actually right here. Yeah. The Native Americans from the area surrounding Point Pleasant had stories of giant, terrible birds called thunderbirds that could easily swoop down and carry away a man. In their depictions and representative artifacts, the images resembled the Mothman, and thus they were lumped into the mix. I don't know if I would put it that way. I would put it like maybe it's, an ancient dinosaur that survived. As some kind of continuing story, which opens itself up to claims that sightings of the Mothman may go far back as the 1600s. Mutant bird is one of the suggestions, or explanations for the Mothman. That sure does look like a mutant bird. I wish that had a caption. The Mothman seemed to make its home at a former World War II munitions dump, which also used to be a bird sanctuary. Can I get the picture to appear closer? Barely. This area, full of all sorts of underground tunnels, is also the site of where the creature was first spotted by a couple of young lovers. And when they say a couple, they mean two couples. But they should say two couples. The area is called Lover's Lane. That's how secluded it is. The theory is that amidst all the weird chemicals deposited in the area, a mutant kind of bird was born. The Mothman. This also sounds a bit like how the Incredible Hulk was born. And Swamp Thing. And how Superman can permanently lose his powers. The bird may have been a stray sandhill crane, a type of bird that stands almost as tall as a man, with a 7-foot wingspan and reddish eye circles. An angel. While the Mothman was visiting Point Pleasant, a series of disasters also took place, including the collapse of Silver Bridge between Ohio and West Virginia. A bridge whose terminus on one side was in Point Pleasant. Also, there were the phone calls author John Keel was receiving, in which a mysterious person named Indrid Cold seemed capable of telepathy, and various others which carried premonitions that ended up coming true. A plane crash with the correct number of casualties. These were invariably grouped in with the Mothman's stay, and the speculation was that this figure was either predicting these events or perhaps causing them. After the collapse of the Silver Bridge, the Mothman remained silent, as did reports of his activity. Hoax, I doubt it. Faulty perception. Of what, though? Faulty perception of what? A man with wings. Let's do this one. Excuse me. Eldergone says, albatross. Albatross. It's bleeding albatross flavor. Say the creature is exactly what witnesses say. Excuse me. If that were so. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. Please say let's say the creature is exactly what witnesses say it is. Say the creature exists in a world that fosters supernatural activity, which we know is true. If that were so, this being would be a 7-foot tall man with wings and large red plate eyes fixed at the center of its torso. It would look and sound like Mothra. Imagine a world where these things came and went as they pleased. Plane or flying machine theory. This Mothman may have been misidentified flying machine or low-flying plane in the night. This doesn't account for its ability to take off upright, straight up into the air. And without the sound of propulsion, which only allows for the possibility that it could be some kind of Da Vincian pedal-operated flying machine that makes no engine sound. Now, how to explain the bloody eyes and burning eye? The bloody eyes and burning eyes. Now, how to explain the bloody eyes and burning eyes the witnesses experienced? Elder with a link. Thank you, Elder. Hawkman, right? DC Universe? Unknown. This writer's a genius. Next up. Ouch. Next up. And it was at the end, but no longer. Oh, that's the, that what Elder just gave me? Yeah, it is. We want this. Hunting the Mothman at OutdoorHub.com. West Virginia's Red-Eyed Terror. Written by Keith Lusher. I got a feeling I've read this before. I have not. The creature followed their car, it says here. Other sources indicate it was right beside their car. At speeds up to 100 miles per hour. These are the two couples that were in Lover's Lane. I guess in the same car. Which is an odd way to go to Lover's Lane unless you're swingers. With eyes that lit up like bicycle reflectors in their headlights. The local paper ran the story the next day. That's when everything started. I think the second witnesses, the second incident, the second report of a sighting was from a work crew of like 5, 6, 7 people. What makes the Mothman especially unsettling is how it behaves around people. It's described as a humanoid creature standing between 6 and 7 feet tall, with massive wings spanning 10 feet. It's described as more human-like than animal-like. Instead of running away like most cryptids, the Mothman seems curious about humans. It's been reported perching on rooftops, following cars, and even looking through windows. Multiple witnesses described feeling like the creature was studying them, rather than just trying to scare them away. The creature appears to be incredibly fast, both on the ground and in the air. Witnesses reported it keeping up with a car traveling at highway speeds without even flapping its wings. Some others described it as gliding effortlessly through the air, while others said it seemed just to appear and disappear without warning. The Mothman's original territory was centered around Point Pleasant, West Virginia, particularly in what locals called the TNT area. This was where old World War II munition factories were located, surrounded by abandoned concrete bunkers and thick woods. The area proved perfect cover for something that wanted to stay hidden, while still being close enough to town to observe people in Lover's Lane. Hunting the Mothman would present challenges because you're dealing with a flying target. This is all about hunting him, by the way, hunting the Mothman. More intelligent than most cryptids. The creature's ability to fly and its reported speed would make this one of the toughest hunts you could attempt. For a firearm, I would recommend a 12-gauge shotgun. There's a hot link here to a 12-gauge shotgun with a modified choke loaded with steel shot for aerial targets. West Virginia hunting regulations allow shotguns for most game, and the wider spread pattern would give you a better chance of hitting a fast-moving flying target. For longer shots, a .270 or 30-06 rifle with a good scope would work, but the creature's speed means you'd need to be an excellent shot and have nerves of steel. The Mothman's reported intelligence means you need to be careful about making noise or being obvious about what you're doing. This isn't a creature you can just walk up on. You would need to set up in areas where it's been spotted before and wait for it to come to you. The author continues. Oops. My grandfather taught me, if you kill it, eat it. Following that rule, the Mothman would have to be edible, though I imagine it would be tough and gamey. Given its size and the fact that it flies, the meat would likely be similar to large birds like geese or swans, but much bigger and probably tougher. How he knows this, we are not told. And maybe we don't want to know. For preparation, I would treat it like any large game bird. A long soak in brine or salt water would help draw out any strong flavor and tenderize the meat. Rapine says, I ain't eating no Mothman. T. Plateau says that would give you bad dyspepsia. Given the creature's unknown diet, I'd be careful about what parts I used. Stick to the breast and leg meat. And avoid any organs. Always good advice when eating animals. Especially the brain. You want to avoid the brain. I do anyway. Like I ever had an opportunity. For cooking, continues the author, I would choose slow methods that break down tough fibers. Smoking over hickory or oak wood for 8 to 12 hours would work well. The smoking process would help mask any gamey flavor, and the long cook time would make the meat very tender. T Plateau says wrap the meat in bacon and marinate it for 4 days, at which time you must smoke it. European says cooking cryptids with Bill. Welcome, Blunghole. Blunghole says, I and 2 other people saw 3 Thunderbirds around 2005 near Mount Davis, Pennsylvania. We were on the tower at the high point and saw them flying at the front of an oncoming storm. Thank you, Blunghole. The author continues, you could also braise it in red wine with vegetables for a more traditional approach. Recent Mothman sightings are much less common than during the original 66 to 67 period, but they still happen occasionally. In 2016, a man claimed to photograph the creature near Point Pleasant. And that's the photographs we've already observed. If you haven't seen them, just rewind the video. A man claimed to photograph the creature near Point Pleasant. There's a snap from the inside of the Mothman Museum. Let's take a look at it. Open image in new tab. Thank you. We can get rid of that one. Let's take a close-up look. Mothman, 50 Years of Terror. That would be where? From 66 to 2016. Might have been taken at the time of that story. Prices were reasonable back then. The universe does not exist as we think it exists. We do not exist as we think we exist. Quote from John Keel, who wrote the Mothman Prophecies. A movie also starring Richard Gere, which is based upon his book. Here, Mothman Search Team, Point Pleasant, West Virginia. I like the OD green. Now, what is this map on a shirt? Any way we can determine that? That's maximum magnification of this photo on this machine with this browser. North, because there's the arrow. Hard to say. Possible sighting areas marked, perhaps, with these dots. Why are there 4 almost regular dots here? We'll never know. And, of course, your key fobs, your buttons, your pins. Only $12. Maiden voyage, for some reason, of the Mothman, I guess. And illegible. Mothman something 6 Years of Terror. The older shirt's down lower. 46 Years of Terror, maybe? It looks like 56. How could they have the new ones way down at the bottom? All right. Whoa. The Mothman has become a huge part of Point Pleasant's identity and economy. The town hosts an annual Mothman festival every September. It draws thousands of visitors from all over the world. There's a Mothman museum downtown and a 12-foot chrome statue of the creature that's become a popular tourist attraction. By the way, must see another live shot of that statue from the Moth Cam, pointing out from the Mothman Museum. It's snowing in the very heart of Point Pleasant, where the statue is, which is a very small town. As you can see, no traffic. The 2002 movie, The Mothman Prophecy, starring Richard Gere, brought the legend to a national audience and really boosted tourism to Point Pleasant. The film was based on John Keel's 1975 book of the same name, connecting the Mothman sightings to UFO activity, which exploded after the Mothman sightings, sometime a few weeks after the Mothman sightings, and the collapse of the Silver Bridge. The scientific evidence for the Mothman's existence is limited, but the concentrated nature of the original sightings, as well as how they were all the same, they all described the same thing. They were seeing something. Makes it harder to dismiss than other cryptid legends. Over 100 witnesses reported similar encounters in the same area over just 13 months. Which is unusual for this type of phenomenon. The connection between the Mothman sightings and the Silver Bridge collapse adds another layer of mystery to the legend. The creature may have been trying to warn people about the disaster. Or maybe it caused it. Closing thoughts from the author. As someone who spent time in remote areas hunting, I can tell you there are places where you get the feeling you're being watched by something you can't see. Whether that's the Mothman, you'll have to decide for yourself. If you ever find yourself in the woods around Point Pleasant, on a dark night, with those famous red eyes staring back at you. And that'll conclude our deep dive into the Mothman. But before you leave, you must join us next Wednesday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on Twitch, for Gotcha Man's movie watch party. To find Gotcha Man on Twitch, this is the channel name. Just plug that into the search bar. It'll take you right there. This coming Wednesday, a haunting double feature. A classic haunting double feature from Hammer Film Studios in the UK, which Gotcha Man is calling Hammer Time. Rapine, thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated, sir. With the dancing pear and noisemaker. Thank you, Rapine. The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb from 1964. Followed by another classic, The Brides of Dracula, 1960, year I was born. Until then, and I will see you there, may God bless and protect us all.